I am bringing the hearing regarding health effects of exposure to wind turbines to order.
We can't hear you.
Sorry. I am bringing the hearing regarding health effects of exposure to wind turbines to order. It is May 24th, 2012, and it is 7:05 p.m. I would like to greet the residents, the interested parties, public officials, all those people who are in our audience tonight, and I hope this will be a very productive session. Before I get started, though, I want to tell you a little story about my gavel. It has also in its life been a meat tenderizer. So I thought maybe it'd be appropriate. I'm not so sure. But anyway, the members of the Falmouth Board of Health are well aware of the effects of wind power and the benefits of wind power. Our environment is enhanced by the efficient production of power that decreases pollutants without the emission of greenhouse gases. Knowing this, the town of Falmouth erected 2 industrial-sized turbines in an attempt to improve the environment in Falmouth and generate income for the town. However, for the past 2 years, at the regular meetings of the Board of Health, residents have voiced concerns about the health effects related to Falmouth and the turbines. Residents living in close proximity to the wind turbines have repeatedly expressed concerns about sleep disturbance, fatigue, headaches, change in interpersonal relationships, difficulty concentrating, mood disturbances, irritability, and depression. In addition, increased blood pressure, increased heart rate, and anxiety-related symptoms have been reported. Overall, the residents that have come before our board feel that the quality of life experienced in their own homes has been compromised. The Board of Health sent letters seeking assistance to the Town of Falmouth Selectmen, the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, and the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. In response, the state agencies appointed a panel of experts to review the literature regarding the health effects of wind turbines. With the exception of sleep disturbance, the panel found insufficient evidence in peer-reviewed literature that supported health problems directly associated with wind turbines. No guidance has yet been provided for the unique situation that exists in Falmouth. Health problems continue to be reported by the Falmouth residents living in the vicinity of the wind turbines, and the nature of their symptoms appears to be more serious. There are reports that people continue to have significant mental health problems, and some are sleeping in their basements or leaving their homes. According to peer-reviewed studies on sleep disturbance, the majority of the health effects experienced by residents reporting to us may be related to chronic interruption of sleep patterns. Untreated sleep disorders have been linked through research to hypertension, heart disease, stroke, depression, suicide, diabetes, obesity, impaired immune function, and other chronic diseases. The purpose of the hearing tonight is twofold. First, testimony will be gathered to document the perceived health impacts of the Falmouth wind turbines on people who either live near the turbines or work in the municipal and industrial facilities located in the vicinity of the wind turbines. Second, the testimonies will be reviewed to determine whether a cluster health problem exists. The data from this hearing that is specific to the health outcomes of the operation of the Falmouth turbines will be collated, summarized, and sent to the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, accompanied by a request for assistance with the unique situation that exists in Falmouth. These testimonies will be conveyed to the Department of Public Health both with a sense of urgency and with the provision for the department's personnel to further investigate this issue. It is hoped that this process will result in further investigation of what we believe may be a unique situation with regard to turbine operation in Falmouth. The testimony this evening is voluntary and therefore is a matter of public record, accessible to the public upon request under the Open Records Law. This hearing should not be considered an attempt to change public policy. We will hear first-person oral testimony from individuals who reside or work near the Falmouth wind turbines and who have health issues they feel are related to the turbines. Written testimony is required and may be accompanied by brief oral testimony. Further written testimony, including statements from healthcare professionals regarding their patients, will be accepted until the deadline of May 31st. We have encouraged that written testimony be accompanied by a statement that would give permission to the Massachusetts Department of Public Health to pursue individual health issues in depth. Such additional information might include interviews with those affected, review of medical records, and interviews with health professionals. The state has the ability to keep information gathered in this way confidential. Oral presentations this evening will be limited to 3 minutes each. A sign-up sheet is at the entrance to the room, and testimony will be heard on a first-come basis. Please give us your written testimony prior to your oral testimony. And Mr. Hufelder, at the end of the table here, will be collecting that testimony. And will call out your name when it is time for you to speak. Also, please use the microphone on your left as this hearing is being televised. Scott McGann is our official timer, and he is somewhere here. We remind all that this is a hearing to gather information on health issues. We are not here tonight to discuss any technical issues associated with turbine sound generation, sound measurement, turbine siting, or other technical design and siting issues. The chair will rule that any such discussions will be out of order. So with that introduction, we will commence with the first testimony.
Madam Chair, there are approximately 25 individuals who signed up, and I have right here collecting the written testimony if you want to either hand it to Scott to bring up or if you feel comfortable bringing up yourself. The first speaker, Madeline Tunador, or Tundador. If I've mutilated your name, please, I apologize.
Thank you for having me here. My name is Madeline Tundador. I live at 46 Brush Hill Circle in East Falmouth. I'm here regarding the Webb turbine. I don't know exactly how many feet it is from my home, but I'm basically one of the houses that is right at the base of it. In fact, when you come down Brush Hill Circle, if you didn't know better, you would think it was in my backyard. When it first was erected, I'll be honest, it did not bother me. I said, okay, I'm good. I'm happy for change, good positive change. Many things have changed since then, which I won't have time to go into. But one of the main things is that I now work 11 to 7, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. I've come home many mornings when this thing is going at full throttle, okay? My best description of the noise that I'm getting at my home is like a fleet of planes continuously just going over my house. Not to mention that you're getting a constant whoosh, whoosh, and a humming, okay? It's not easy to go to sleep to that. It is affecting me, my sleep. So, like I said, that has changed. Coming home in the mornings and you lie there and say, okay, well, let the whoosh whoosh calm you, and hopefully you'll go to sleep. So also, one of my neighbors, okay, this is another part of it. One of my neighbors is having her house appraised due to refinancing. She was telling me that the appraiser, and maybe it's a bit of an exaggeration, but she was telling me that just about any of the houses on Brush Hill Circle, chances are of them ever being able to sell is absolutely none. And that really affected me. I was almost in tears because though I may never leave my house, sell it, or anything like that, I always wanted to have that choice, to be my choice, decision to make if I wanted to sell it or not. I don't want it to be put on me that I can never have the chance of selling it. I do not appreciate that. Also another, even the smallest of things are affecting because of the Webb turbine. The neighbor behind me. Now, I've watched her. When they put up their house, I've watched this lady put her blood, sweat, and tears into this yard. Trees, brush, flowers, you name it. She's having to walk away. She's moving. She bought another place. Now, the thing is that you may not think this is important, but it is to me. My dog grew up with her 5 border collies. She's leaving. That's not going to happen anymore. I mean, even the tiniest of things like that really bother me. It does stress me out that the Webb turbine is actually starting to change my life. Slowly but surely it's starting to change my life. And last, I just wanted to, like I said, I know I don't have that much time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert Sagerman.
My name is Robert Sagerman. I live at 80 Deer Pond Road. I've lived in that house since 1975. I built that house. According to Google Earth, my house is just under a mile from the Webb turbine. That's just to give you an idea, we're talking, it's very far compared to most of these people. When the wind blows with force from the north-northwest, I can hear the turbine. The pulsing sound will wake me up at night. It can be heard and felt just above the sound of the wind in the trees. So it's the background noise of the turbine is above the nice sound of the wind. It is a distinct sound which is annoying, and once awake, it is difficult to go back to sleep. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Diane Funfar.
I'm Diane Funfar, 27 Ridgeview Drive, 1,662 feet from Wind 1 and 1,558 feet from Wind 2. When the town first proposed the first turbine in 2004, my husband Barry took the town-sponsored tour to Hull, which the turbine was touted as similar to that proposed by Falmouth. Our fears of noise were put to rest after that visit, as it was seemingly quiet. In 2010, after Wind 1 was constructed and began operation, we were dumbfounded to learn it was a 1.65 megawatt machine, 2.5 times as large as what we had been shown. The noise was immediately bothersome to Barry, though for the first month he attempted to acclimate to it. Now I look back to this as the beginning of the extermination of our health and quality of life. Barry had spent over 30 years creating a beautiful yard and woodland garden and worked out there every minute he could for relaxation and therapy for his PTSD. As his exposure to the turbines lengthened, his tolerance for the noise diminished, and soon he was in depression and unable to work outside at all. He had been diagnosed with combat PTSD in 2003 and had been receiving treatment twice per week since then. The medications and therapy he received transformed him into a different person, a happy person. With exposure to the turbine, all that changed. Our life was turned upside down. He was back to worse than he was before the treatment began in 2003. I witnessed his decline in his worsening irritability, anger, drinking, and severe depression, and he became difficult to live with. His doctor told him he must not live close to these turbines. We have lived here for 32 years and love our house and property, and our grandchildren live less than half a mile away. I want my husband's mental health restored to pre-turbine condition. There is no getting accustomed to the noise from these machines. For myself, I have been a contact lens wearer for over 42 years. 2 years ago, I began having an eye discharge, eye irritability, and headaches that have worsened with time. My eye doctor prescribed an expensive eye drop, but it has not helped. I have had to stop wearing the contacts altogether. I never connected this problem to the turbines until this past February when we attended the meeting with the state's expert panel where Dr. Wendy Heiger-Bernays, a member of the panel, listed the health effects known to be caused by living too close to wind turbines. Eye discharge was one of them. At the end of February, we went to Southeast Asia for 6 weeks, and even though the quality of the air is less than perfect there, my eyes cleared up. Upon returning home, it has reoccurred, and I cannot wear the lenses. We are suffering and need relief. Please help us return to and enjoy the peace and tranquility we once had in our own home. Please turn these torturous machines off.
Thank you. Next.
Sharon Eddy.
Good evening. My name is Sharon Eddy, and I live approximately 1,650 feet from Wind 1. My home is situated at a high elevation. I'm here to testify as to the ongoing and relentless assault on my body, mind, and spirit, which I am willing to back with release of my medical records and a 2.5-month sleep journal I kept and also filed with the town of Falmouth. The memory loss, the loss of balance, loss of appetite, ringing in the ears, head pressure, lack of concentration, and most of all, the sleep deprivation resulting in extreme fatigue, so horrendous that I had to leave my home not once or twice, but 4 times, in order to recuperate for 1 or 2 weeks at a time. I dreaded going home. The first 2 days of visit was sleeping as much as 14 hours the first day, 12 the next, and so on. My health has taken a turn for the worse since the installation and operation of first Wind 1, then second industrial turbine Wind 2. I will not go into the details at this moment, however, welcome any inquiries at a later date. In ending, I would like to say that I would not wish this torture on any living thing. Thank you for your 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can we put out more chairs so the people in the hallway can... There's a few chairs up
There are
front here.
3 up front here.
Neil Anderson.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would like to ask that the speakers make sure that the microphone is close to their mouth because some in the corners back there are not hearing well.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Anderson.
Neil Anderson, 211 Blacksmith Shop Road. I am speaking on behalf of my wife Elizabeth, my daughter Lee, and myself. Thank you for providing and sponsoring this extremely important wind turbine health meeting. On July 11th, 2011, at a turbine meeting that took place at the high school, the Board of Health provided a handout that listed over 30 health-related symptoms and other concerns directly related to the wind turbines. It listed sleep disturbances, headaches, and vertigo, to name a few, as well as decreased quality of life, financial issues, and the need to leave the home. We have experienced and suffered from all of these symptoms and issues. And even with Wind 1 presently off, we still continue to suffer from many of these. Tinnitus, or ringing in the ears, is a chronic condition that has no cure. The constant and the monotonous ringing and buzzing continues day and night, even when away from the turbines. Hyperacusis, or sensitivity to loud or sudden noises, is another condition that has been inflicted upon us due to the effects from the turbine. Something as simple as the sound of the buzzer from the microwave oven has us blocking our ears with our fingers or our palms. And the stress. The stress alone has and still is causing many, many physical and mental problems. Problems that we have never had in our lives until the turbines began to operate. Some say that it is psychosomatic, or they say it's only noise. Try getting used to it. If they only knew. The Selectmen's present plan is to start Wind 1 turning again sometime in June. If this happens, we will be forced to leave our house, as some of my neighbors have done so already. We cannot take the physical and mental abuse any longer. My wife and I have aged over 5 years in the 2 years since Wind 1 began to operate. We cannot take any more. Please do not wait too long for a response, any response, from the Mass Department of Health. Our lives are in your hands. I will be submitting more comprehensive written material for this board next week. I also welcome and encourage the Department of Health to contact my family and our medical professionals for follow-up correspondence. Also, I know of at least 6 Town of Falmouth employees or members of various Town of Falmouth governing boards whose physical health is negatively affected by the turbines, but need to remain anonymous. Thank you.
John Ford.
Good evening. My name is John J. Ford. I live at 372 Blacksmith Shop Road here in Falmouth. Thank you for this opportunity to tell you a little bit about my declining health. I purchased my home, which was nestled in a quiet neighborhood, on May 5th, 2005, just about 7 years ago. I love being outdoors, enjoying nature, working on my property. I found the perfect place to retire, or so I thought. On May 5th, 2010, I was rudely awakened at 3:17 a.m. by Wind 1. I immediately felt abused. On May 17th, 2010, at 10:15 p.m., I was further assaulted by the Webb Notice wind turbine and suddenly realized that the peace and quiet that I had come to love was now a thing of the past. Wind 2 last disturbed me on February 23rd, 2012, at 2:46 a.m. Wind 1, Webb Notice, and Wind 2 are located approximately 3,400, 2,300, and 4,700 feet from my home. My life has not been the same since the 3 1.65 megawatt industrial wind turbines have been operating. I feel tortured. I cannot enjoy my garden. I cannot enjoy relaxing in my yard reading, walking, or simply living. I cannot sleep without being interrupted by the thumping and swooshing of the turbine blades. This pulsating assault has taken its toll. While prior to the wind turbine installations, I had the luxury of excellent health, I am currently depressed, as well as fatigued and now deal with high blood pressure and an elevated level of triglycerides. Headaches, earaches, anxiety, stress, anger are just some of the physical and mental maladies of this human being that stands before you. Waking at night with labored breathing and a pounding chest are common occurrences. Getting back to sleep is very difficult. Adding acoustical windows to my bedroom to eliminate the noise has not worked. Bouts of unannounced vertigo are experienced while at home. Interestingly, I do not experience these symptoms when I am away from the turbines. I urge you to continue your comprehensive examination of the negative health effects of the residents in harm's way of the wind turbines, and request that you have the Massachusetts Department of Public Health contact me for further confidential medical material. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Allison Robb.
Allison Robb of North Falmouth. I have to say that I'm not...
Excuse me, could you pull the microphone a little closer to you? Thank you.
I have to say I'm not one of the abutters and being affected the way they're speaking, but I just wanted to say I am affected by the descriptions of their physical and mental problems, and I will continue to support them. This shouldn't happen to anybody, and I know I'm out of order, but I just wanted to say that, and I hope that we will have the turbines removed for their sakes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Todd Drummy.
Probably won't stay. Good evening. My name's Todd Drummy. I live at 360 Blacksmith Shop Road. I'd like to thank the board for holding this hearing. As the board is aware, the wind turbines in our neighborhood have had a devastating effect on the health and well-being of my family and many others. While there have been many families that have discussed this matter in public over the last 2 years, there are many more who are afraid to come forward. There are many reasons for this reluctance. Some have witnessed the bullying we have received from letters to the editor of the local paper. Others have heard about the verbal harassment left on our answering machines or received in electronic venues. Many are worried about the impact such statements will have on the value of their homes. And for others, they fear that their employment may be affected. I've spoken to several people who have watched the events of the last 2 years and simply concluded that there is no point in subjecting themselves to this type of punishment by standing up here and talking like this. Statements like these are common. They don't care what happens to us. You can't fight town hall, and I'll never be able to sell my home to get away from this nightmare. I attended the Board of Health meeting Monday night, and there was a long discussion about privacy and confidentiality of tonight's presentations as well as the written testimony. And as you made aware, Town Council has submitted an opinion that this is public and none of it is confidential. And I understand the board's position there. It's unfortunate because there will be many that do not come forward because of this. What I would like to ask, and this is for the members of the press and others in the audience that may have access to this data later, exercise some restraint in your reporting of these neighbors' events. There's no public purpose served by disclosing the names and addresses of the people who are in distress. Speaking for myself, I'll state publicly that all three of the turbines near my home have caused severe adverse impacts on my health and on the health and well-being of members of my family. The effects from the turbines frequently interfere with our ability to sleep. The negative effects of chronic sleep disturbance are well known, as you alluded to. This impact was also documented in the recent Mass DEP, Department of Public Health study on wind turbines. Headaches, pressure in the ears, and an unbearable level of stress and anxiety have all caused dramatic changes in my daily activities. The custom-built home that I labored on for 10 years is no longer a pride and joy of my life. The sanctuary from day-to-day troubles is now the source of stress, anger, and continuing health issues. I would be happy to discuss these in detail when the issue of confidentiality can be handled.
Your time is nearly up.
In my letter, I did put a chart in because you know I love charts. And I'll just say that it is data that came out of the recent DEP study. It's not my data, as I'm also known to produce. But it does show clearly that low-frequency sound is a huge part of the problem here in Falmouth. And I'll end by asking formally that your board has also recognized the issue of low-frequency sound and amplitude modulation in your letters to the Mass Department of Public Health and DEP. And you've asked for guidance in this area. So I will add my voice to that of yours and make a formal request to the Massachusetts Department of Public Health and the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection to immediately begin an investigation of the adverse health impacts due to low-frequency sound and amplitude modulation of that sound associated with living in the vicinity of the turbines in Falmouth. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Loretta O'Brien.
Good evening. My name is Loretta O'Brien. I live at 462 Blacksmith Shop Road. Thank you for the opportunity to tell each of you how the Webb notice wind turbine located about 1,900 feet from my home affects my health. I define health to include my mental, emotional, and physical health. The presence of the turbine and the noise it generates during different seasons, under different temperature and humidity conditions, at different wind speeds, induces unnecessary stress and directly affects my health and well-being. I understand that the board will forward this information to the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, but that my testimony given here will not remain anonymous. I do not care to discuss details of my health publicly. However, I will say that the turbine has disrupted my sleep on several occasions to the extent that I have missed 3 days of work as a direct consequence. On 2 other occasions, the noise from the turbine kept me awake so that I only got about 4 hours of sleep before I had to drive 3 hours to a business meeting. Obviously, I was anxious about driving tired with little rest and the potential for an accident. And as an aside, my father totaled 3 cars because of sleep deprivation, so that was in the back of my mind. And the other consequence of that is when I went to the meeting, my concentration and participation during these 6-hour meetings was diminished and consequently interfered with my ability to do my job well. I was so agitated, I actually called Mr. Webb at notice and left a message at 1 a.m. on these 2 occasions, but he has never acknowledged my calls or requests to curtail the turbine during very high wind conditions. Since any further description of the effects of the turbine on my health, which there are several, cannot remain anonymous at this meeting, I request through this board an interview with the Department of Public Health. And this way I can speak freely and be assured that my personal information and details of how my health has been affected by the Webb turbine will remain confidential. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would like to say there are 2 chairs up here, and more can be put out for those of you who are standing in the back.
Mary Zawowski.
My name is Mary Zawoski. I live at 53 Ransom Road in Falmouth, 900 feet from the Woods.
You need to speak directly into it.
Is that better?
Yeah,
Okay.
raise your voice a little, though,
Okay.
if you would.
Okay, sorry. I'm Mary Zawoski. I live at 53 Ransom Road in Falmouth, 900 feet from the Woods Hole Research Center Northwind 100 wind turbine. The turbine's low-frequency noise in combination with the vibration resonates with my house so that I have chronic sleep deprivation. After a few days of not sleeping very much, you're so exhausted that you do get some sleep, but you never get that deep, rejuvenating dream sleep that you need. And so this has become a chronic problem, and it makes the house really not worth living in. I have never experienced anything like this in my life, and I grew up close to the Ohio River, very near a dam, railroad tracks, boat whistles, an airport, so I am very used to noise that one can get used to, and I did. But this is something different. Something about the terrain and the distance here in Falmouth makes my home a receptor for the sound and vibration for the turbine. It took a while for me to realize why I couldn't sleep. When they first put the turbine up, some of my neighbors were getting together a letter. Did I want to sign it? I still have those emails where I said, I'm not signing a letter. I don't hear anything. It just, I hear the whooshing. It doesn't bother me. But 1 week in March 2011, the vibration got so bad that I actually was trying to figure out what is going on in my house. I walked up to the wind turbine and I realized that that was the source. And this, at that time, the strong vibration lasted for about a week, and my heart started to vibrate in time with it. It was very bizarre, and I ended up having to go to the doctor, and he did say that my heart rate was up. He didn't say, doctors are very loath to say it's because of the wind turbine, but he did tell me, that my heart rate was up. That went down after that week, but I was tuned in then, and I realized why I hadn't been sleeping well. It's because of this very low frequency noise and vibration. On some nights, it's like a low generator running outside my house. And even though I try inserting earplugs, wrapping my pillow around my head, I just can't escape it. And I just know those nights I'm not going to get any sleep. And then on other nights, it's a very bizarre, what I think is called the Von Karman vortex street. Why is this so hard to get used to? It's an irregular, like a pressure wave, and it's like all different irregular. What I do is I get the timer and I try to time it, and it's like 3 seconds on, 2 seconds off, 30 seconds on, 4 seconds off, all night long. You just can't get used to that. You just can't get used to it. When I go away, which I was away for a week in April and a week in May, I had no problem sleeping. So I know it has something to do with the turbine. Anyways, thank you for listening.
Thank you for your testimony.
Ann Hartcool, I think this was going to be read by somebody else, yes. Nick?
Good evening. My name is Nicholas H. Byard from 56 Brentwood Drive in Craggy Ridge. Ann Hartcool has asked me to be her proxy tonight purely to read her letter, which I now present to the board. To whom it may concern, I am unable to be at the Board of Health hearing. I have prepared this written testimony for submission. My home of 19 years is 1,625 feet from Wind 1, 3,000 feet from Wind 2, and 3,500 feet from the web. Since the wind turbines turned on, my family has been sleepless. Wind 1, Wind 2, and web turbines have a persistent audible and inaudible sound that disturbs sleep. Living with these turbines has been much like living with a subtle, persistent torture. Aside from tiredness, irritability, and nervousness, I have found myself more stressed and less tolerant. I have problems with concentration and memory. I seem more prone to colds, asthma, and infections than before the turbines. My equilibrium is sometimes challenged, and I have ringings in my ear. Forgetfulness and inability to finish sentences concerns me. My appetite has changed. My weight has blossomed up 40 pounds in the last 2 years. My doctor has prescribed for me Ambien to sleep, Valium to relax, and phendimetrazine to suppress my appetite. None of these medications have I needed during the first 51 years of my life. I have refused to take these medications as I am more concerned about their side effects than trying to live with these wind turbines. I find it shameful that I am in this position as a result of these wind turbines. The turbines have created a toxic environment for me. I find that my work has been affected by my irritability and overall depression, a characteristic that is new to me. I have always been considered a glass half full girl. This 2-year ordeal has dampened my spirit. I find myself looking for reasons not to go home, even during the day. The dead bats on my deck, the persistent hum of the generators, a subtle vibration ringing in my ears, have rendered my safe haven, my special place of serenity, a nightmare. I recently got a room at the Seacrest Resort for 2 nights to sleep. Over the last 2 years, I have paid for many a hotel room to avoid going home to the wind turbine noise. I found myself sneaking away from work during the day to nap in my hotel room. The Seacrest is 5 miles away. I paid $200 for the privilege of 2 nights' sleep. This is not the first time myself or my family has paid to sleep somewhere other than our home in our hometown. Please help us figure out a solution to this devastating problem. I invite the State Department of Health to come and interview me. My phone number is such and such, and email, so forth. Thank you for your time. Annie Hart Cool, 250 Fire Tower Road.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mark Cool.
Thank you very much for having me tonight. Mark Cool, 250 Fire Tower Road. So I'm just going to state facts. I've been an air traffic controller for 32 years. I've been involved in 9 aviation fatalities. Each accident investigation, my job performance was determined not to have been a contributing factor in the accident. Over the course of 32 years, my record has demonstrated that I have never failed to provide aviators and their passengers the safety they deserve and expect. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention state air traffic control is the 4th most stressful occupation in the United States. Air traffic control demands total concentration. The Civil Aerospace Medical Institute, CAMI, states prolonged fatigue has significant implications for safety-critical occupations in aviation industry. Effects include reduced vigilance, reduced alertness, impaired cognitive and behavior performance, impaired short-term memory, inability to process critical information, impairment in decision-making process. The following list is a few of the many officially recorded noise complaints. These have critical relevance to this testimony. April 30th, this is the first of 2 that evening, sleep disturbance. 1:15 a.m., duration 20 minutes. The second one, sleep disturbance. 3:15 a.m., 30 minutes. May 2nd, sleep disturbance. 1:52 a.m., 2 hours duration. May 3rd, my shift ended at 10 o'clock in the evening. May 4th, that morning, 3:10 a.m., sleep disturbance, 4 hours. May 4th, I go to work, shift 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., 21 days ago. 2 aircraft, total of 6 souls aboard, under my control, nearly collided. At their closest proximity, They were 0.66 miles laterally and 500 feet vertically separated with a closure speed of Mach 0.4. The standard FAA air traffic separation between aircraft requires 3 miles laterally and 1,000 feet vertically. This near midair collision event was my first in 32 years. During the investigation that followed, an interview question was asked. Over the last 3 days, would you estimate that your average sleep per day has been? Multiple choice. I picked less than my normal amount. The state expert panel wind turbine health impact reports. Been repeated numerous times. It's possible that noise from wind turbines can cause sleep disruption. There's not enough evidence to provide particular sound pressure thresholds by which wind turbines cause sleep disruption. Further study would provide these levels. Finally, the consideration before the board is pitting the community's conscience against questionable compliance protections. I urge the board, err on the side of caution, err on the side of protecting me, those pilots and passengers and their families until further studies and the ones recommended by the expert panel report provide better regulatory guidance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul Tarr.
Good evening. I'm Paul Tarr from 110 Ambleside Drive. I have some symptoms I'd like to cover that I think are is impacted by the wind turbines. In fact, I'm pretty sure they are. I have headaches, sometimes severe. I have nausea, similar to seasickness. And at one point, I took Turbine to try to feel better. Unable to stay focused, and extreme irritability. The only way that I can feel better is to leave my house, whether it be for an hour or two or for several days. As soon as I leave the house, within an hour or two, I'm feeling better already. When I leave the house, it's going at least 3 or 4 miles from where I live at Ambleside Drive. These symptoms get worse, more severe with the higher winds, and the wind affects my house, my living, when it's coming from the south-southwest, when the winds are strongest. Thank you for having this meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Robbie Laird.
This is Robbie Laird. I live at 201 Blacksmith Shop Road. And I would just say that I probably started having sleep problems almost as soon as the turbine was turned on. I didn't recognize that probably for 9 or 10 months. I spent a long time trying to figure out why I was sleeping. I was like, well, maybe I'm waking up with the sun. No, that wasn't it. You know, waiting for the fall. Maybe it's the wrong pillow. Try this, try that. And eventually I started doing some traveling for work, and since then it's become very clear that if I travel, I can sleep the whole night, and when I'm home, I generally cannot. That's the biggest problem I have. There's been some evidence that I'm occasionally waking up with a very high pulse rate. And early on, before they put some of the restrictions on, I felt like I was losing my mind because I was just forgetting things all the time. That seems to have cleared up a little bit, maybe because I'm traveling more. I'm not really sure. And I also wanted to mention in terms of things that are really clear, when the turbine is running at full speed, when it's running unrestricted, you just cannot sleep at all the whole night. It's simply not possible. That hasn't been happening that much because they've got the 10 meter per second limit on there. But I'm one of the closest houses. I'm 1,100 feet away, and when things run in full tilt, it's like having a thunderstorm going off over your house the entire evening. It's just crazy. And my written testimony will have a little more in it, and I'll probably update you with a little more later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Elder.
Hi, my name's Brian Elder, 161 Blacksmith Shop Road. Most of you have heard my story already. I've been to multiple health meetings. I'd like to thank you for having this one. Most of these people before me have summarized the situation pretty well that I have with the dizziness, anxiety. I will say that if Wind 1 goes back on with no curtailment, it will put me in a desperate situation, mentally and physically, in my house. I will have to leave it. That's the extent that we're affected at our house. Thank you.
Catherine Elder.
Can I take it out? Good evening, Catherine Elder. Can you hear me? I didn't prepare anything this evening. But I can tell you that I have submitted testimony tonight, which is very similar to what many others have talked about before me. I heard the word unique and cluster being talked about earlier, and I just wanted to make the point that I have heard testimony and read testimony from people from many different locations around turbines, not only in our own state, but all over the world, including Germany and Australia and Scotland. And there's nothing unique about our symptoms, the worst of which, for me, happens to be sleep disruption. That is so clearly a negative health effect that affects every aspect of a person's life, health, quality of living, functionality, and to me is the number one issue. But it isn't just at night. I have ways of coping with that kind of disturbance during the day because we can keep ourselves busy and we can try to ignore it. You can leave the property, but that's no way to live. So it's important that we understand that there's nothing unique about this, that it's happening all over the world, and the community and everyone should be aware of that so that we can support each other and we can protect each other's basic rights to health by not allowing the poor siting of turbines, because all of us are saying the same thing, that when we leave the proximity of the turbines, we feel better. So I think that needs to be recognized, because the solution for all these complex issues is very simple. It's distance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Elder.
Linda Okagawa.
Good evening. I'm Linda Okagawa. I live at 821 West Falmouth Highway. My property is 988 feet from Wind 2, and my home is 1,225 feet. Wind 2 has been in operation for 99 days, and I have experienced a number of health-related symptoms at various times, wind speeds, and directions. As we've learned from others in Falmouth around turbines, these symptoms are related to the amount or duration of exposure, and they get worse over time. So I have 99 days now. I now have frequent sleep disturbance, deprivation. I'm waking several times in the night, alert, such that I can note the times. I'm a sound sleeper. Traffic on Route 28 doesn't bother me at all. When I wake, however, I often experience feelings of pressure and ear popping and pain. And I don't usually hear the turbine itself, or I'm not that aware. I don't think that's waking me up. Many days I'm fatigued and not fully alert, somewhat mentally confused and unable to concentrate. I have reportedly become irritable. I have changed bedrooms 3 times seeking relief, and the last one is on the ground floor, the basement. The constant whooshing can be tiring. I have tension and feel stress in my body. My dentist just told me this week I'm grinding my teeth more intensely than ever. During the day and night, I experience ear pressure and pain of varying degrees. When working in my home office, I have felt dizziness and queasiness and an intense need to get away from the house. Many of these symptoms, as others have said, abate when I leave the house for over 2 hours. There seems to be some magic point between 2 and 2.5 hours. I feel clear-headed then, and I have energy. When I was in Florida for 10 days in March, I slept through every night without waking once. Other symptoms, such as ear pain, at first was popping and stuffiness, but now it's nagging and sometimes acute stabbing. That's increased, and it takes longer to subside. It doesn't take very long, though, when I return for symptoms to begin again. Interestingly, Wind 2 was off for over 60 hours on April 28th to April 30th. During that time, I felt physically energetic and somehow free at home. This startling contrast made me realize that I'm probably under some kind of pressure all the time the turbines are operating. With the turbines operational to prevent harm and maintain my excellent health, I've learned what I have to do: leave home. What I need, however, is to prevent harm and enjoy my good health at home. Because my experience of inaudible pressure effects, which is what it seems to be, I second Todd Drummy's charge to the Department of Environmental Protection or Public Health on getting into the low-frequency infrasound investigation and see what it is that we're actually receiving from the turbines. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Kelly Souza.
Hi, I'm Kelly Souza, and I live at 191 Blacksmith Shop Road. And I was one of the first ones to say it's not bothering us. I have 4 boys who are very active, and the ambient noise level in my house is high to begin with. However, once they turned the wind, they curtailed it, and it wasn't running at night, a very strange phenomenon happened in my house. All of my children slept. My children are young, so waking up at night is not that uncommon. But now that my 6-year-old is the last one to get up in the morning and his bedroom is in the front of the house, I really think that this is affecting all of us. That's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joanne Venna. I hope I got that right.
Thank you for holding this hearing this evening. I'm not a resident of Falmouth. Again, my name is Joanne Vanna, and I come from the town of Saugus, and I'm the chairman for the Alternative Energy Committee.
Excuse me, but if you have not been exposed to the Falmouth turbines, personally, I have to rule you out of order.
I apologize, but the reason I would like to speak.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but you are out of order.
Of the individuals here. However, I'm very interested in speaking to people in this group.
You are out of order.
I apologize,
Scott.
But what I would like to do
apologize.
An email
You are.
to
Excuse me,
Please sit down.
Scott.
Please sit down.
We cannot accept.
Please respect us and sit back down.
You
Please respect us and sit back down.
Would I be able to
You're not a
speak at the
resident.
end?
You're taking up valuable time. Please sit down, ma'am.
Other people.
Please sit down.
Other people need to
You
speak.
just wasted all the time I needed to speak.
You can address the
If
Board
you
of
would
Health
like-
at a regular
I'm not
meeting of the
interested in
Board of
addressing the
Health.
Board of Health. I would like to address the people here to contact
This
me at
is
Saugus
out
Wind-
of order.
Sit down.
At Saugus Wind. Fine.
Thank you.
Paul Coe.
Good evening. Can anyone hear me? Oh. Excuse me. All right. Everyone still hear me? Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm Paul Coe. I live at 444 Blacksmith Shop Road. My parents have been living there since 1989, and we speak on behalf of going against notice/web turbine. So basically, in the introduction of this meeting, Madam Harkness, you mentioned health and safety, I believe, and we have video evidence that shows the disruption of the web turbine with our TV reception. Now, if you want to connect the link between those, we're talking about news stations that tell us safety and health reports. So if we can't really hear or see what's going on, we have no connection to the outside world. Also, as regard to noise, my dad, sitting over there, he lives on the north side of the house, which is closer to the web turbine than I do because I live on the south side. And during his long days of work, he still can't sleep. I don't think there's any way to hook this camera up to the laptop over there to show the video evidence. It is, however, 5 minutes long, and I know I'm restricted 3 minutes of speaking time. So if it's possible, if I can get one of your email address, I would love to send it to you so you can watch it or show it at a further meeting down the road. Other than that, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Colin Murphy.
Hi. Can you hear that? No? Can you hear me now? Okay. I don't have anything prepared. I just wanted to, on behalf of myself and my family.
Call your address.
I'm at 291 Blacksmith Shop Road, very close to the web and the Win 1. And I just experienced basically all the same effects at different times, myself and my family, that everyone has expressed tonight. I mean, it's a horrible experience to live with, you know, health-wise, I guess, anxiety, depression, anger. It all, you know, it all kind of goes in, you lose sleep. It just ruins everything. And then what really is horrible, though, is when it affects my children. Like when my window's closed and everything's shut down in the winter, and if the windmill is facing the right way with the right wind, and I'm trying to read them a bedtime story and put them to bed, the walls just pound. Okay? So then I leave the room and I put them to bed for the night. I tuck them in, and it's just pounding in there. Is that the way everyone in this room went to bed when they were 5 and 7 years old? It's like a safe haven. I'm not saying outside of my yard, which it pounds throughout the day in their sandbox and when we play in the yard. But when they go to bed at night, don't they deserve a safe, quiet place to sleep? I would hope so. I think that's the way I was raised. I had the foghorn in the background, okay? It wasn't the windmill pounding my walls. So I just hope you, I appreciate the time that you're giving everybody, and I hope something can really be done, because I don't think it's fair to myself or anyone else in the neighborhood to have to live this way. You know, you didn't want to get into the other things, but town made a lot of mistakes, and they should correct it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ed Hobart. Thank you.
Bear with me, please. Come clear.
My name is Edward Hobart. I live at 476 Blacksmith Shop Road, 1,640 feet from the web turbine. 10 years ago, we built the house that you see in these photographs. Since the web turbine started, we've been to meeting after meeting after meeting. I have sleep disruption. My wife has sleep disruption. She has vertigo, chronic migraines, and she took to sleeping in the basement. She also had a business out of the house. That business has been closed down. All of the landscaping that you see at this house, she did. She spent almost 300 hours on a skid steer loader doing all sorts of digging, rock moving, making soil, and everything else. I present you these photographs so that you understand that us leaving this house is agony, and we are leaving because we cannot stay there anymore. She will not sleep in the house anymore. She's sleeping with friends, and this is the sin that's been perpetrated on us by the town. It seems like money and special interests are more important than the citizens in this town. We're leaving. We have to find a refuge where we can have peace and quiet and not be constantly assaulted by the turbine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don Cross.
Hi, I'm Don Cross, 428 Blacksmith Shop Road, and I built my house in 1991, and only at first I had a lot of these people who I grew up with in this town in Falmouth. One of Colin, and he was just explaining about his kids, and I also did not prepare anything because I kind of came here last minute. I've been watching this all transpire for the last few years, and I'm really seeing and hearing tonight mostly the health effects, the real health effects that I wasn't really aware that were happening so badly. And it's amazing to me that as a town, we're going to go forward with this when if one person is suffering the way they are, or if one person, I've heard the word suicide, if that ever happened, wow, I mean, is it all worth it? To me, I think the man that was just here said it. I think it's a financial commitment on a lot of people's behalf, and I think that we need to support each other as citizens, stand up for these people, and take these things down. I do think it's wrong. I have been silent for too long, and I really feel guilty about it with my friends that come over to my house, and they're like, does it bother you? And it actually, we're about 1,700 or so feet, and it is starting to become, to me, honestly, it's getting louder. So, yeah, and I'll prepare a statement and I'll have it in by the 30th, but I want my message to be to the people who maybe are not affected, to take into account real people's lives, like the elders. Kathy, I grew up with, and she's right. Everything that's affecting us should go away. And that's the only right thing to do, and that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Paul LaRusso.
Paul LaRusso, 366 Blacksmith Shop Road. I live about 2,000 feet from the web turbine and a little bit further from Wind 1. All I can honestly say is what I'm feeling and my family's feeling every day. And I would say we honestly have had no sleep issues. We're in the backyard all the time, between the landscaping, the trampoline, the swing set, the riding the bikes. We're out there all the time. And I see what I'm experiencing is greatly different than what others out in the room. I'm aware of that, but all I can tell you is what I'm going through every day, and it's not problematic, and it's really not an issue. When they first put up the original web turbine, it was a little startling because of how high it was in the air. When you drive out the driveway, you're looking right at it. But as the day went on, the years went on, it just became part of the landscape. And when Wind 1 originally went up, the first one, we had the flicker effect, and you had the big shadows coming through the TV room. And it was startling for us. She said, "What is that?" So, honest to God, we went over the shade, closed the shade, it mitigated the flicker effect. So, we're there, we're close to all these turbines also, but for whatever reason, we are not experiencing the same things. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Malcolm Donald.
Malcolm Donald, 124 Ambleside Drive. I live 1,250 feet from Wind 2. Since Wind 1 started operation, I have developed tinnitus, ringing in my ears. It has worsened with the operation of Wind 2. Additionally, there have been times when the cyclic beating of Wind 2 has caused my heart to try to beat at the same rhythm as the wind turbine, and which causes stress, and it's kind of alarming. Like what is, it's like, ooh. We also experience shadow flicker from both machines, which is unsettling in the quiet of the morning. And I've had ear pain. I've sensed it from Wind 2. I would request that the Mass Department of Public Health contact me for more information. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jill Vale, Washington.
Worthington.
Worthington. Sorry, couldn't read that one. Thanks.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay. I tried to put together words last night, and I just couldn't do it. There was just so much. I went through my journal, trying to figure out what were the words that I could use to describe where I am. Because a lot of times, I don't think, does it really bother me? But anyway, I'm just going to read to you what I wrote down before I walked in the door tonight. First, I have to say I live on 337 Blacksmith Shop Road. My husband and I built our house. We've lived there for 12 years. And we live about 7/10 of a mile away from Wind 1 and the Webb turbines. The Webb turbine. Okay. So, my husband and I have been negatively affected by the predominantly Wind 1 and the Webb notice turbines. First, I want to say my husband's a ship's captain, okay? And I do work too. We will be submitting a letter of record stating that we welcome the state officials to interview us about why we are concerned about our health. My husband complains of loss of sleep, and I have had to go through the process of coping with the loss of a certain piece in my life. There surely has been an improvement with the curtailments limiting the 23 mile per hour, and I am very aware, pleasingly so, when all turbines are off, especially when I go for my favorite walks. Going through my journal makes it clear to me when I wonder if I am being selfish or making a mountain out of a molehill with this issue. I'm relating this to Paul because, sometimes you say, what am I making a big deal of this for? I can deal with this. What has happened with me? I had to have a personal conversation with myself to not let this problem eat me up. This was, I think it was last fall after that town meeting. I had that personal conversation because, not to eat me up, because of sorrow or anger. So with the help of a quieter Wind 1 and our windows closed on the west side of the house this past winter, I taught myself to acknowledge when I hear it and move on. I also had to change my nighttime rituals of reading because I couldn't concentrate. Instead, I started working on Sudoku to force my concentration with quick decisions. Then I changed my morning ritual of just listening and being open to the peace of the world by doing Sudoku again, forcing myself into a concentration to divert from the wah, or whatever. It wasn't bad all the time. It really wasn't as bad with the windows closed. Consequently, though, I felt addicted to Sudoku. So started just jumping out of my bed to start the day with a totally different attitude. Now I just think of rushing off to work or just don't think at all. To end this, my health and well-being has been affected, and that is why I continue to speak out after periods of time where I just want to focus on what is good in my life. If I don't try to help myself and others, and there are a lot of others, I will become apathetic, and if I become apathetic, it will increase my chances of depression, which is basically what I feel I have been warding off. That's it, folks.
Thank you very much.
That's all that's signed up.
That's it.
That's all.
If there is anyone else who would like to speak at the moment, we do have some time. And this must be people who are affected directly by the Falmouth wind turbines. Yes.
I submitted a letter, so I'll just get up and say a few words. I didn't prepare something, but my name is Chuck Eastman. Indirectly, I was involved with thinking and preparing and accepting the turbines. But what came about was larger, and being aware of what was going to take place in my life. I live on 76 Ambleside Drive, and just like everyone else has said, weather conditions play a big part in what happens to my house. There are bedrooms which we can't sleep in. Like everyone else has complained, my wife has ringing of the ears. She's never been a great sleeper, so we can't really blame the turbines on her sleeping habits. But the other thing is it looms over the neighborhood, and its presence is very discomforting. I could get into the real estate value issues, which creates anxiety for me and others that live in my neighborhood, but I will not go there. And that's all I'd like to say.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eastman. If there are no other people, we have, okay. Sir, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. My name is Tim Madden. I'm the state representative for Barnstable, Dukes, and Nantucket. I appreciate you having this public hearing. I think it's very important to offer people an opportunity to speak. My goal is really to help the town and its citizens as much as possible in their dealings with the state. If there's anything I can do, if you feel as if the state is not responding quickly enough, or if we can do anything to encourage further dialogue, whether it's Ken Kimball, the Commissioner of the Department of Public Health, or Secretary Bigsby with the Department of Public Health, or Ken Kimball from EEOA. We'll be happy to do so. Once again, I appreciate everyone coming out tonight, and I appreciate you having this hearing. And we're here to help you.
Thank you for your offer of assistance. We appreciate it. Is one more speaker?
This young lady here.
Oh.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Moriarty. I live at 93 Lower Road. I'm about a mile and a quarter, mile and 3/4 from Win 1, Win 2, and about a mile and a quarter from the Webb Research Notice Turbine. And what I have experienced in the last 2 years, I didn't realize that it was a problem. But I haven't had a dream in 2 years. And, you know, I do want to say one thing. I appreciate our state rep, Tim Madden, coming to this meeting, because this is one of the first meetings I've actually seen him at. You know, we invited Tim to come to Neil Anderson's house 2 years ago. We sat him down. We told him exactly what was going on. And I really don't understand why he waited so long
Mr. Moriarty,
to help.
could you limit your comments to your direct...
Well, I have a dream for all the citizens of Falmouth that one day they'll have their homes back and we'll have a government that works for all of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have one other speaker. The speaker will be the last. All right, one more. There will be two speakers. Please go ahead. Your name and address.
I'm Terry Drumming at 360 Blacksmith Shop Road. I just submitted my list of complaints and health problems, but I would like to say something that most people don't really realize, and Paul LaRusso just opened up the door for it. He lives directly next to my house. His house is on the lower side of the hill. Mine's on the top of the hill. He's below the tree line. He doesn't get the noise. I'm on top of the tree line. My son complains the walls are thumping all the time. There's a big difference. He says he gets the flickering. Directly next door to him, we have never seen flickering in our house. Topography is playing a large role in this problem, and nobody's addressing a lot of the problems that are coming up. Other than that, you had my complaints.
Okay. Thank you. And the gentleman in the back, are you speaking directly to your own experience with the wind turbines?
Dick Bowen, I live at 106 Ambleside Drive, and other than the fact, I would have put a lot more information into the testimony that I turned in, but it's not confidential. Hence, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. If you made it confidential, I think you get a lot better information. Thank you.
It is hoped that follow-up by the state will allow us to have confidential information. Okay. Neil, you hit, huh?
David, we love you, David Moriarty, but I've been asked by Tim Madden to correct something. David, he has been at my house a couple times, just for the record. So.
Okay, thank you very much. I am now calling this hearing to an end. Thank you all for your testimony, heartfelt testimony, and we will act expeditiously to deliver this information, to review it, collate it, and bring this information to the Department of Health at the state level. Thank you all very much for attending.